Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're looking at 3 players who I think are the best players not playing at the RLCS LAN in Sweden next week. There's been a lot of content and a lot of talk recently about the LAN that's coming up, and of course everybody's really excited about it, myself included. But my top 3 players who are not going to be there are Sypical, Aztral and Khalid. I'm going to talk about why they're not there and what my future expectations from these players are, as they are all RLCS players. So first of all, we're looking at Sypical here. This is a 2v2 game. I've just looked up these guys' most recent games, since they are all staying very active despite not being at the RLCS LAN in Sweden. And Sypical is playing random 2s. He's been teamed up with Molten. They're against Eclipse and Monster, who are a pre-made team. So everybody probably knows about this one, because this is I think the most exciting storyline of RLCS this season, and that is that Space Station Gaming are not going to be there. That's not why it is exciting. It's exciting because of who denied them the LAN spot. That's Complexity, formerly True Neutral. I'm sure most of you guys already know that, but if you don't, these guys played a tiebreaker for the last North American qualification spot to the LAN. Only 5 North American teams go to Sweden, and Molten actually almost got a solo goal there. Space Station were expected to be one of those teams. It looked like a pretty set-in-stone top 5 for NA going into the season. Maybe just with Shopify Rebellion as that other team who might be in the mix. They completely fell off with the departure of Beast Mode and, well, what would appear to be some internal issues as well, although I'm not sure about the specific details of that at all. So, Space Station, I expected them to be at the LAN. I think everybody expected them to be at the LAN. They finished 2nd place in RLCS Season X. They won multiple events in RLCS Season X. I think 3 events in total, with 2 regionals and a major to their name. So these guys were absolutely one of the best teams in NA, and it was just almost a guarantee that they would be there. However, Complexity, moving from Sam, denied them that spot in an epic 7-game tiebreaker. So, Sypical, Arsenal and Rettles, all definitely 3 of the best players who are not going to be at the LAN, and I think Sypical, despite not having the best performance in the 7th game of the tiebreaker between Space Station and Complexity, I think he's still the top player on that team. His teammates should probably agree. They're always hyping him up, and one of the most famous things that's said about Sypical is that so many of the NA scene and just the pro scene in general use this guy's camera settings. So if you don't know what camera settings to use, just use Sypicals. Everybody uses them. There's a lot of people who think that they're really good, and that's back from when he was considered the best player in North America. Everybody just copied his settings, and many still use them to this day. So I expect to see Space Station at future LANs. I think that they are in with a great shot of being a top 10 team in NA. Nice little read off the crossbar there for Sypical, coincidentally in the right place for the rebound. I think Sypical's still one of the best in NA. They just couldn't show up when it mattered most this split. They lost the tiebreaker fair and square to Complexity, who popped off, and Sypical especially did not have a great performance in the last game there of that series. Definitely not up to the standard we've come to expect from him. But should Space Station and Sypical just continue to grind and try to stay consistent, use this not really an off season. That's use the time between now and the next split as a chance to really get their heads down and continue grinding, since other teams do have to travel and other teams have to play the LAN, which of course hinders practice, although you do of course get the benefit of international practice and LAN experience. The qualification for the winter major will all be online, so there's no real advantage to that LAN experience gained in the qualification aspect, unless of course you're talking about playing under pressure. But I think Space Station are still in with a great chance of making it. They're currently 6th place in the overall standings for NA, and do remember that if North America performs well at the regional events and at the majors throughout this year. Oh, that's not a goal, is it? Wow. Great little slow roll there by Sypical to tie things up. But as I was saying, if North America is able to do well at the majors throughout the year, then there's a good chance that 6th place would be sufficient to qualify for the World's Wildcard Tournament. There will be at least 3 North American teams at the World's Wildcard event, and how many teams from North America auto-qualify to Worlds top 16 will be determined based on how well North America does at the majors. So a lot of people are expecting the auto-qualified teams, the 8 teams that auto-qualify to World's top 16, to be 4 from EU, 4 from NA, maybe 5 from EU, 3 from NA, or vice versa if one of those regions is really able to pop off at the majors. Whether a minor region team will be able to come in there and snag a top 8 spot on average throughout the majors is that is not something a lot of people are predicting. Oh wow, that's an open net miss. It should have been an equalizer there for Monster. Pretty close game here. The synergy for the blue team as I'm talking here, I've been seeing that they've definitely been able to use that to their advantage. That is always the bonus of playing with a pre-made. That might be game that they might forfeit here, and we might be into the next one, just in case they do. To finish off on my thoughts on Sypical, and they have forfeited. So Sypical and Space Station, if you're a fan of this team like I am, they're definitely at a disadvantaged position at the moment, being 6th place and not being able to get those major points to boost their total even further. But they really aren't that far off. And something else to remember is that the fall split is the split that rewards the least points. As we get closer to the end of the season, and as we get closer to that World Championship, which is of course the ultimate goal of this season, as much as it hurts to miss out on the fall major, the first major in 2 years, first LAN in 2 years internationally. That World Championship is the main goal, and as we get closer to that, this winter split will offer more points than the fall split, and the spring split will offer even more points. So Space Station Gaming are still very much in the running, and even if they don't get into the top 5, there's a chance that 6 or even 7 teams, even 8 teams actually maximum from NA could be going to the Worlds when we combine the auto-qualified teams and the wildcard teams all in one. So definitely keep your eye on this team. They are not going anywhere soon. As far as I'm aware, they're going to continue with the same roster. I can't imagine a situation that they would change anyone being this close and being, I think, still one of the top teams in NA. They're not in the official top 5, but I think they're still at that level. The top 5, well now top 6 for NA, are all pretty close in skill. The Space Station are still very much there. I'm sure that they're confident in bouncing back. But anyway, that's typical. That's Space Station missing out on LAN. Absolutely one of the best players who won't be there, in my opinion. But let's get into the next one. Okay, so second player in my top 3 players who won't be at the LAN is Khalid. So he's playing here with Senzo. It looks like they've actually been randomly queued together. I don't know if that's just a visual bug or if they were in fact just randomly queuing and they ended up in the team. That's pretty bizarre. I thought that they would be in a party for this. Maybe they were and it just got destroyed. Anyway, Senzo is actually the player who's going to be playing in Sweden instead of Khalid. Khalid not in the same boat as Sypical here, or Aztral, who I'll be watching in the third game. He actually won't be there because he can't go for personal reasons. And I'm not aware of the specifics to his lack of attendance, but even if I did know, I wouldn't be saying because he hasn't made that information public. However, I did see a comment on social media saying that I don't know the validity of this comment at all, so don't take this as a guaranteed reason. Like I said, I do not know the specifics, nor can I validate the likelihood of this reason that I'm about to give. But yeah, somebody said in social media that they're actually in the same college as Khalid and that they have exams coming up. So that would make sense. I'm not sure, and I haven't asked because I have no intention to do so, no intention to pressure that information out of Khalid or SRG. He won't be there for personal reasons. Now Senzo will in his place, and this is a very interesting development because, as many of you will know, Senzo retired, and he indicated that he would come back in the future, but he retired temporarily from the pro scene before the Middle East and before Asia Pacific, before Southern Africa were added as regions for RLCS. And yeah, not long after Senzo retired, that's when it was announced that the Middle East and North Africa would be added as a region for RLCS in the new season. And with that, Senzo announced that he's coming back, but he remained a substitute for Sandrock Gaming. And I don't know if they knew, I don't know if it was aware, or if he was aware, or Sandrock were aware at the time of that decision being made that Khalid would not be able to attend the Sweden LAN or any other LANs in the future. But it's worked out really well in Senzo's favor because he is going to be in attendance. He has not played any games for Sandrock in the online qualification. Sandrock were able to win every single regional this split in the Middle East North Africa region. They dominated, they didn't lose a series, and Khalid looked phenomenal online. And that being said, Senzo, definitely still a very high-level player himself, and I've spoken about this on my stream a few times recently, but I was able to catch Senzo in competition, not RLCS competition, because he's been the substitute and inactive substitute for Sandrock online in RLCS. However, he did team up with SMW and Twiz in another online tournament, and in that tournament they actually made it to the grand final against his own team, Sandrock Gaming, where they went to Game 7 overtime, and Senzo, from what I could see, was playing brilliantly, and I still think that he is a world-class player, and as I think definitely the oldest player on Sandrock Gaming, and I believe the one who has the most experience with international travel, he could be a real bonus for that team to have on LAN. That's actually a forfeit right there. Khalid scoring the previous goal with a couple of 50-50s, as he does, and now making it 3-0. Comfortable win there for Khalid and Senzo in twos together. Definitely want to find out. Maybe we'll have to ask them if they were actually queued up together, because that's really interesting that they've ended up in the same team against Luis and Sonic without actually being having party icons. But yeah, just to finish off my thoughts on Khalid not being at the LAN, it is disappointing. It's definitely sad for all of his fans, and for him, I'm sure as well, that he won't be there. But I have full confidence that Sandrock and Khalid will be able to qualify for other LANs throughout the year. They look incredible in the Middle East North Africa region, best team by far. And in the meantime, it's really, really cool for Senzo. I think he deserves this. He's one of the 3 players who really put the Middle East region on the map, alongside, of course, Khalid and Ahmad. So Senzo is going to be there. He absolutely deserves an international LAN. It's awesome to see. Cannot wait to see him play. And I think Sandrock Gaming's chances are still really good with Senzo on the roster. I think that they, in my opinion, will be the most dangerous of the minor region teams. I've said this several times, and I say it because I think it's true. From looking at them play, and just from knowing how experienced these guys are in LANs in Saudi Arabia, and just in competition in general. Going to be amazing to see them play with a fair connection against international competition for the first time. So that's Khalid. Definitely, for me, a top 3 player. He's not going to be at LAN, but for different reasons. Let's get into the last one for this video. That is, of course, Aztral. So here we have Aztral playing with somebody called R. I'm not actually sure who that is. He's against Devoof and Dead Monster. Every game 2v2 for today's video. But let's talk about Aztral's RLCS season. Missing out by a larger margin than Sipical did. And that is, I think, 7th equal. Yes, 7th equal overall in the EU standings. Only 5 teams go, so Aztral's team not able to make it. Now, the team that is tied 7th with Aztral's team, Carmine Corp, I've actually forgotten who they are, but I'm going to look it up right now, because I want to be able to tell you guys who that is. I know the team that's 6th is Evil Geniuses, who were really, really close to making it. They were 1 series away. They actually played against Semper, and if they won that, they would have stolen Vitality spot. So Vitality fans very thankful to Semper for beating Evil Geniuses in the quarterfinal of the last regional and making sure that Vitality are able to go to the LAN. But Carmine Corp are in fact 7th equal overall, so they're a little bit further back. They I think they're tied with Misfits. I'm still looking this up right now. I think it's Misfits that they're tied with, which is pretty crazy, because there's a lot of teams in EU there that many people were predicting to make the LAN pre-season. I think the majority of predictions that I saw pre-season had Carmine Corp making the LAN. I thought that they would make the LAN and then do well at the LAN, so I got that one wrong. But yeah, I can confirm it is in fact Misfits. They're a little bit further back, so Evil Geniuses are in 470 points, Carmine Corp 450, Misfits also 450, so all these teams pretty close, but not as close to making the LAN as Space Station Gaming, where they were literally tied for points with Complexity and had to play a tiebreaker. None of these teams played a tiebreaker per se, unless you want to consider the EG match. That was closer to a tiebreaker, of course, than Carmine Corp and Misfits ever got. So, to speak about Aztral's season as an individual, it's actually pretty similar to how his RLCS X season went. In RLCS Season X, he played with Chaussette and Farah, and in the off-season coming in to RLCS Season X, they look like one of the top teams. They were able to go deep in a few off-season tournaments. Not every single off-season tournament, but a few they went deep in. And I believe they actually came out on top against Vitality in the Fusion 3v3 tournament that I ran. Fusion had 1s, 2s, and 3s tournaments, and Oxygen were able to win the EU portion of that. So yeah, they look good in the off-season, and I think everybody expected them to be a top 6 EU teams. Top 6 is what mattered in RLCS Season X to make it into the big events. It's even more exclusive now, it's top 5. But just like Karmine Corp this season, Aztral was expected to be top 6 and expected to be top 5 and isn't. They've started off the season just a little bit lower down the standings, and they've got some work to do to catch up. But just like last season, I think that Karmine Corp will be able to bounce back from this. I think that they are going to be one of the top 5 teams in Europe by the end of the season. It's super competitive. Teams like Semper and teams like Endpoint have really stepped up and I think played at a higher level than many were expecting. Teams like Evil Geniuses, I thought they were going to do well, but not many did, and they've really proven that they're in that mix as well. Misfits, they've overperformed early in the season. I think even Dignitas have overperformed early in the season. Everybody knew they were going to be a threat late on, but they're already looking like one of the top 2 teams alongside Endpoint. So EU's even more competitive than we thought it would be. It's even more competitive than ever before. Even just getting into top 16 and getting some wins on the board is tough these days, as Karmine Corp have proven by going 0-3 in regional number 2 in the Swiss stage. Misfits went 0-3 in the 3rd regional, Vitality went 0-3 in the 1st regional. These are all top 8 teams in Europe going 0-3 in the Swiss stage, because it is just that hard to get wins against top 16 teams in EU. That being said, I personally do have faith in this team. I think that they've just got to make some small adaptations to their play style. They started off the season just all guns blazing, catching teams off guard with their pace and aggression. Now teams have kind of figured out that that's what's going to be coming their way, and they're positioned accordingly, they're challenging accordingly, and they're hitting Karmine Corp in the counter-attack often. And that combined with Karmine Corp's maybe lower tier ability in the mental game when you compare them to teams like Endpoint, who just seem to always be having a great time and always be able to produce their absolute best in the high pressure moments. Karmine Corp, not so much. They've had some pretty big mistakes in high pressure moments. So I think that will change throughout the season. I think that they're going to be able to learn, and they're going to be able to perform to a higher level in those high pressure moments, especially when you actually start to look at yourself as an underdog and have to make these comebacks. It can often be a better thing than being higher up in the standings and have that expectation resting on your shoulders every time you play. So I've not lost faith in this team. Just like Space Station Gaming, even if they don't make top 5 EU, they may still have one of those, or may still have a chance to qualify for Worlds wildcard. Just to reiterate, the minimum amount of EU teams that will be at Worlds and Wildcard combined will be 3, because that's how many are guaranteed in the Wildcard. The auto-qualification spots to Worlds are all, of course, being fought for at the majors. So I think that we're more likely going to be seeing minimum 6, with 3 EU teams auto-qualifying through major performance, and then minimum 3 at the Wildcard, because that's just an already decided amount. So that's, I'd say at least 6 teams from Europe will be going to Wildcard and Worlds combined. Probably more like 7, but with NA not looking as deep in terms of talent pool. I think EU are more likely to lock up that 4. Honestly, I think I wouldn't be surprised if both NA and EU lock up 4 spots each, and the minor regions are finishing off 9th, 10th on average, just missing out. But we'll have to wait and see. This major this weekend, or next week I should say, will reveal a lot about how the regions are matching up, and that will actually be a big deal to see which region comes out on top with the World's auto-qual spots. There's more than pride on the line now. It's actual quantifiable difference between regions in terms of how many will be at the World Championship representing them. But yeah, the short story, if you don't want to get into the nitty-gritty and understand the ins and outs of how that works, all you need to know is that it is possible for there to be more than 5 European teams and more than 5 North American teams at the World Championship and the Wildcard combined. Those 2 stages are played back-to-back. Wildcard first, followed by the World Championship. in, I believe, 2 consecutive weeks, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check the announcement again to see if that's correct or if I've just made that up. But I imagine that's how it would work. And there's probably going to be, I think, at least 6 EU and 6 NA teams there. So 6th place right now is the saddest place to be. That's where Space Station Gaming are. That's where EG are in Europe. That's the absolute worst place to be, because you've just missed out on the first LAN in 2 years. But it might still be relevant. Just like 2nd place in the Middle East North Africa region will definitely be relevant, because there's 2 Middle East North Africa teams going to World's Wildcard minimum compared to the 1 at the majors. And same thing for OCE and SAM. You know, they're going to be fighting for more spots too. So if your team missed a LAN this time, don't worry, there's still a chance for them to get into the next LAN, and there's an even bigger chance for them to get into Worlds if they're from North America, Europe and Middle East. I'd have to look into the other regions. I think OCE, SAM and Asia have similar chances. They don't get a boost. They actually need their teams to do well at the majors if they are going to have a bigger chance of making it to Worlds, to the wildcard event. Anyway, that was just a short video I wanted to make today to highlight some of the best players who are not at Worlds. And the reason I want to do this is not to roast them at all, or to roast their teams. I think these are all great players. I mean, they're the best players who aren't at the LAN. And I think 3 of the best teams who aren't at the LAN, well, actually in Khalid's case, his team is, but for Karmine Corp and Space Station, they're definitely some of the best teams not at the LAN. And I think that they have great chances to qualify for future LANs. But the other thing, and the other reason to make this video, is also just to highlight how stacked this LAN is going to be. If these teams aren't qualifying, if Space Station and Karmine Corp aren't making it, that just shows you the level that the LAN is going to have, that teams that are this good can actually fail to qualify now. We have no weak teams, or definitely way less weak teams going to this LAN than ever before. So that just makes it all the more exciting, as if there wasn't already reason enough to be excited about it. Now, I did say that I was going to get some international scrim and maybe even show match content on the channel. That is still true. I'm actually looking to do one today. So if you don't want spoilers, then stay off social media, because I do sometimes tweet out stuff related to that, and I'll make sure to upload it all to YouTube anyway. But if you do want to catch stuff live, just follow me on Twitter. I tweet before all my streams, and you won't miss any show matches that do end up happening on my Twitch channel before the LAN goes down. For now, guys, that is all we got time for. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and best of luck to these teams and these players for qualifying for future LANs and future events in this season. I'm definitely expecting to see all 3 of these players at least 1 LAN this season, probably more between them. And thanks for watching as always, and take care. I'll see you guys in the next one.